Who was the most frightening child you've ever met, that you have no doubt would grow up to be a dangerous adult? When my husband and I were in our early 20s, we were friends with a couple who had a 5-year-old. My friend had fallen pregnant at 18. The couple were very young and had no idea how to discipline him, and this kid was seriously out of control. He'd stay up all hours of the night, running around, and wreaking havoc. He wasn't just an active child, he was destructive as all heck and cruel to animals. It got to the stage where we dreaded having this couple over. The decision was taken out of our hands. One day, his mother came over for a cup of coffee. Her son began to misbehave as usual, and I found myself paying little attention to what she was saying and more to what he was doing. He'd broken so many things in the past, and I was terrified he'd cause himself harm. She had learned how to tune him out and didn't pay any attention to his antics at all. On our coffee table, we had a heavy stone statue. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw him try to lift it but wasn't too concerned. I really thought he wouldn't manage it because he was only 5, and I had a hard time lifting that thing. Our Labrador puppy was sleeping next to the coffee table. To my shock, he was not only able to lift the statue, he managed to lift it above his head, and then, to my complete horror, slammed it down onto our dog's head, who screamed in pain. The next thing I see is blood gushing out of my dog's skull and its body moving alarmingly as though it were having seizures. Before I could help myself, I grabbed the boy and gave him a smack on the backside. Remember that back then, spanking a child was considered perfectly normal. This couple had never spanked their child, and my husband and I would often talk about this and wonder if their lack of discipline had turned their son into such a monster. Well, when I spanked him, she became extremely angry and began yelling at me. Forget the fact that he had just cracked my dog's skull open. I had to race my dog to the vet, blood gushing from the open wound, and I could clearly see bone fragments. Fortunately, the poor dog survived, but it always had a dent on the top of his head. That was the last time I saw this couple or their awful son. I can't say I was sad. Years later, I heard that their son had been jailed. I was curious and learned that he and another teenager had robbed a liquor store at gunpoint. It was not the first of his crimes, and I'm sure it was not the last.